Okay, are you ready to record? You ready to record your first big debut on the podcast? Okay, thank you for standing up and making a guest appearance on Under the Influence podcast. We'll send you the show notes and your episode later. Welcome back to Under the Influence podcast. I am your host, Whitney Eckis, and I want to talk about a really awesome idea around skill sets. So recently me and my team member went to a really cool agency day. It was at one of the local universities here in San Diego. You know, they were interviewing each of us on how we hire and what we look for. And obviously it was with all students. So they were asking really awesome fundamental questions. This topic came up of these skill sets that aren't just your traditional I know how to use Microsoft and Excel and set a calendar invite and use Zoom. Skill sets that are very, very different. And I think that I sometimes assume these when I speak with people that are looking to advance in their career, or I speak with, other team members from other brands. And when I'm reminded of a skill set and someone shows me that certain skill set, in the field without me having to ask or without me having to assume that they know it, it's almost refreshing. And I just felt like this was a really good topic for those of you that are looking to advance in your career, but also looking for those hot take items of how do I get my boss, my employer, my dream job mentor, I don't know who it is, to notice something a little bit different about me or so that I stand out. I don't know why I've never touched on this topic before, because I've touched a lot on hiring and what I look for, but I think it's also really important to touch on the things where it's this is what I dream about if I were to have someone on my team. These are the things that I look for when I want someone on my team. And also, these are the ways that I show up for clients, for consulting brands, for, different opportunities, and the ways that I'm actually able to really be able to wrap my brain around what they need and how I'm going to show up as the star of the show. Okay, so let's get into it. First and foremost, let's talk about you looking at your current boss or you wanting to advance in your further career. There was this really awesome episode where I had Kira Jackson on, and I'll never forget her saying that she wanted to be lethal in the boardroom. She wanted to be someone where it came down to investment or it came down to private equity, and she wanted to understand how to have those conversations. Kira went to her boss when her boss was in the process of maybe having their company acquired and said, "What can I do to be in the same room as you? What can I do to advance myself from this process that we're walking through?" Her boss responded and said, "Yes, come over. Let's have a conversation. Let's get you involved." This stuck out to me so much because I think that we as humans always assume that we're going to get turned down if we ask. I think that's our natural human response. But I think more so from that, I think that we have to just take our shot. In fact, this week, I took a shot with one of my clients and I asked for something. And they not only responded with, "Absolutely, Whitney, yes, please do this," but they said, "And we want you to do X, Y, and Z." And I was like, hell yeah. If I would have never asked, that opportunity would have never even come to me. So first things first, if you're wanting to advance your career, never be afraid to ask for it. Never be afraid to sit down and look your boss in the eyes and say, how do I do more? Not just I want to make more money, not just I want more responsibility, not just I want this client or I want to be on this project or I want to go travel and do this and this. Sit down and look them in the face and say, how do I do this? How do I be in the same room as you when you're talking to these high-level clients? How do I get to go and secure these deals? How do I get into sales? How do I get into talent relations? Or, if it's you even looking at your client, your dream client, if maybe you're a freelancer, you're a part of an agency, look at your client and say, how do I work with you? I think that you are the moon and the stars and the sky above, and I would give anything to at least learn from you and or be able to work on your own projects. There is a skill set in that, and it's asking. It is asking for what you want, and it is not in a privileged manner. It's more in this manner of I'm just telling you point blank what I see, and I'm reflecting back to you what all you've accomplished and what I see from you, and I want to be a part of that. And honestly, it makes people so excited when people are like, Whitney, how do I get to work with you? Or like, how do I get to work on this certain client? I'm like, fuck yes. Like, you want to advance, like, you want to grow with me. This is huge. And again, like, I use this for my own clients. This is not just for someone that's like in their day-to-day career. I mean, it can be as well, but it's also for what you want. The other thing too that I can go on a tangent about, but this is also huge in a relationship. And we can save that topic for another podcast, but ask for what you want. Don't be afraid. If they say no, it's not aligned. That's totally cool, but don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Second, there is just a huge topic, I think, of like being open and being transparent about where you're currently at in your life and where you want to go. And again, asking for what you want is like a big part of this, but also so is the fact of advancement. So I think one of the biggest things that has actually been brought to my attention that I want to learn more about, like especially for myself and for my team, is personal and professional development. And this is outside, this can be included inside your workplace. Like some awesome, companies have this already where it's like they're investing in their personal and their professional development. But with that, there's also this other level of like, what also are you doing that is a skill set that you're going to bring to the table for, again, either your clients, your workplace, whatever. So this skill set of these skills, whether it's personal or whether it's professional, is a skill. If I have someone on my team that is very emotionally intelligent, that knows how to communicate with clients, whether they're being amazing, difficult, or whatever other mood that they're going through, and they're able to emotionally stabilize the conversation, yet still be professional, but still be professional and be able to navigate through the situation. That is absolutely insane. That is someone that I want, that is client facing, that has enough emotional intelligence to understand and basically vet the situation and to move through it the best way they know how. That is a skill set I look for. And that is something too, where that's really hard to list out on a resume. That's really hard to list out to a client. Another one, again, can be like professional development. I think it's really, really sexy when like employees bring new ideas to the table. And again, even new team members or even new brands where they're like, Whitney, did you hear about this trend? Or I want to take photography, or I want to see if I can scale a revenue for your company. In fact, 3 of our employees have done that. And I think it's the sickest thing ever. And actually, pretty much all of them have scaled these certain verticals within the company because they strictly had interest in that one particular thing and they wanted to learn more about it. So that also too, if you're at a workplace, don't be afraid to ask. If you have a client and you want to pilot test something, don't be afraid to talk with them about it. Some of our greatest clients, we pilot tested new services with, and they were stoked on it because we were like, hey, like we're only going to charge you half and it's going to cover our educational cost, but we want you to be a part of this, and like we'll give you the results day by day. And they were like, sick, test it, run it. That advancement, that professional like desire to want to continue to learn and to better yourself is so sexy. So sexy. Like that's what I want. That's who I want to be around. Also too, like that's who I want to surround myself in my day to day. Like my clients, my team, my friends, I want to be around people that are constantly bettering themselves and wanting to better their environment. And like, that's what these people bring. And that is a skill set, again, that's not very easy to list on your resume. Personal, professional development. Let's see, what's next? I mean, I feel like those couple of things are probably the best. There can be so much more to this that you guys can like think about, right? Like, I think even just the ability to have like hobbies and like different things on the side that you're doing, I think is so sexy. And I think, again, if you're bringing that to an employer or to a client, like people want to know about it. I think, for example, one of the coolest things about the podcast is that I've been really able to refine my speaking. I've really been able to understand what it's like to speak to an audience. And same thing with my events. I do these events kind of here and over there, and like I mean, I shouldn't say that. Our event vertical this year is popping off, which is so exciting. But, before, like, events weren't part of like Eckis Marketing's packages. It was like a client needed an event, and so I just go do it. And I think that with the skills that like I'm talking about, you're being adaptable. You're flowing and growing with your landscape. And I think even there, that's a skill in and of its own right. But these are things that people are looking for. It shows like who you are, and it brings more layers to who you are as a person. And people look for that, right? Especially entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are looking for skill sets that are not on a resume, but that could bring inherent value to their company. They're looking for people that are going to show up, that are going to want to learn and want to rock it with them. They're going to want to grow and scale both professionally and personally. And people that are just that they find fascinating, that they want to be around. And this is really hard when this comes off a first impression. It's really hard to show all of your layers like in a job interview. But there's ways that you can show that. And there's ways that also too, if you're currently in like, a full-time job, or you're currently in a career where you want to advance further, there's other ways to build that relationship with whoever basically has the say-so, whether or not you grow, and show them that side of you. And that is huge. Like building that up and showing that and starting the conversation in your interview of like, let's give it like an actual tangible example. I'm going to use my beloved Hannah. If anyone ever needs Pinterest, please hit her up. Hey, I'm really interested in Pinterest. I want to learn more. I see that you don't offer Pinterest to your clients. How can I be a part of this? And how can I learn Pinterest more? And how can I bring on clients and offer them Pinterest services? This is massive. When Hannah and I had this conversation, I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. I love it. I love your heart. I love your tenacity. I love the fact that you want to learn. I love the fact that you want to make money. I love the fact that you want to advance and learn. Like I loved every bit of it. And that was actually something she brought up like during our first conversation. Now with a client, I love this with a client because there's so many ways to help a client not feel like they're being pitched to, but rather that they're meeting a new key person in their network. Now, this is really important. No one likes to be sold to. No one likes marketing agencies. Most people just don't like marketing people unless like you're very, very good at your job, because there's such a negative connotation of like, let me spend all this money and get you zero return, which is not true. But there's a lot of people that have been burned either by said marketing person or by an agency. So one of the best ways that I've come to find when I'm talking to a potential client is to open up possibilities for them, and also to offer myself as a resource or as a key new person in their network, even if it doesn't work out. Right? Like releasing the stress of the sale, releasing them from the stress of the sale, like just strictly being like, hey, if this even doesn't work out, like, let's be buddies. And like, I'll bring you like these opportunities and we can be friends on Instagram. And like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? Like I turn into this like person of network. So when you're having these conversations with your potential client, obviously ask all the things you need to go through, but then ask about these opportunities. Hey, do you ever go on podcasts? Hey, do you ever do events? Are you open to brand collaborations? Because like we work with super sick brands and like they're looking for people to collaborate with all the time. Hey, are you going to be at Expo West or South by Southwest, or are you going to Coachella? Would love to meet up with you. Like there's all these opportunities just from you having one conversation with a person and like actually having a conversation. Because when you actually have that conversation, you break down the barrier and you start to show yourself. You start to show all your layers, everything that you're about. You start to open up the client to new possibilities with you. And it just makes for this like beautiful just connection. And like it doesn't always happen that way, but most of the time, if you honestly have a real conversation with a person, they're going to be receptive to it versus you just trying to cold sell them on something that you think they need to have. Like, no. There's a million people to do that to them. Don't be that person. That's also too another skill set that I think we can all benefit from. And again, like I'm trying to like encompass all of this for you guys, but these are things that I look for and things that I see and things that I really truly feel like are so valuable. with that, I think there's also this level of learning how to communicate as both a human personally, but also too as a professional, and understanding how big communication can be. Communication is literally the key in pretty much every basis of a business. Like, sure, are there some systems that are absolutely turnkey? Totally. But how did those systems become turnkey? People had to communicate. They had to explain what they needed done. They had to explain the success of it. They had to explain what not to do. And I think, again, as someone where it's like, again, you are either advancing your career, you're your own business owner, you're a solopreneur, you're in a relationship, you're a mom. I don't know who you are, like a parent. I shouldn't just say mom, a parent. Communication's key. And it's uncomfortable. Like, there's so many times where like we don't want to talk about things because it's uncomfortable, or because we're tired, or because we're burnt out. But ultimately, like, when we come to recognize how important communicating what we want is, who we are is, what we need done, what's going to make us most successful, ultimately, so many things in our lives shift because we're calling out what we need, and we're calling out what we want, and we're talking about it. And again, like, people cannot read your mind. They're not going to go scroll your Instagram and be like, look how cool she is. I need her. Like, or I want whatever. Like, I want to help her. You have to show up. And that is that communication line of showing up and being who you are, and having the hard conversations with, again, whoever it is. That's going to be such a key skill set. And I've seen so many people, and I've been in so many situations where communication just wasn't aligned and it was not flowing. And such negative, toxic energy came from that, whether it didn't, like, a deal didn't go through, or whether, like, someone had a really hard time at their job, or, things just weren't working out. A lot of it was because there just wasn't any communicating. On the flip side of that, be someone that also listens. This is also hard. You also have to be receptive to what others are telling you. And you have to own that. If you don't want to have this conversation, if you feel like you're starting to get defensive, if you feel like you did something wrong, if it's hurting you, if they're acting and emotionally reacting and it's not cool and they're like really triggering you, you also need to be receptive of what's happening and be able to take ownership and take control of the situation. Being receptive also can look like hearing someone out. It can also look like receiving what they have to say and either accepting it or rejecting it. Being receptive is huge. Like, learning how to let people speak and learning how to hold space for them, and also not taking their bullshit, but allowing them to get through their sentence is, I think also a great skill set. I cannot stand it when I'm trying to speak and I'm trying to share like my truth and someone interrupts me or someone stops me and they're like, no, 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 I know what you're trying to say. That's not being receptive. That's being a dick. And grow up. Like, have some emotional stability to hold space and to receive criticism and or hold space for the person if they're hurting or if they're mad, or if they're upset, or whatever emotion they're going through. Understand that that is a skill set, and that is something too that's going to take you very far in life. Because if you're able to hold space for someone, if you're able to receive the information that they're trying to communicate with you, you not only are not reacting, but you're also giving yourself time to accept the information and then decide what you're going to do with it. I think, again, this is huge. Also, it makes you look so professional. You will be someone that everyone wants to talk to because you know how to communicate and you know how to also listen. And you're going to absorb information that could be key for you. If someone's criticizing you, get over it. We're okay. You're going to learn, especially in your job. Criticism is something that's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you better. It's going to give you a whole other platform to look at yourself on. And it sucks and it's so hard and it feels like shit. But ultimately, you're going to grow from it. If someone is criticizing you personally, you need to decide if that person's criticism is even worth a spot in your brain or if it's not, and move on. So I think that being receptive to this information is key. And it's also going to teach you a lot. It's going to shape you, and it's going to open up a lot of new perspectives for you. Anyway, I'm also I'm like laughing because this new series is called Hot Shots, and I didn't even introduce the show that way. But these are new solos, and they're kind of micro. They're a little bit mini. It's like a mini-sode. But this has been my hot shot take on skills. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. I would love to chat with you guys about these different skill sets. I'd love to hear if you guys just didn't even like my skill sets or you thought I was full of shit. I honestly don't care. But I want to hear from you guys, and I love you guys. And yeah, thanks for taking a hot shot under the influence. Ooh, look at that sign off, Whitney.